All right, I'm going to get started. Welcome to SCH's virtual info session. My name is Allison Gatter, and I am the Director of Middle School Admissions here. We want to just welcome you this morning, and we appreciate you guys spending a few minutes with us and learning a little bit more about the middle school. On this call or webinar, I have Meadow Pepino. She is the head of middle school. Wave your hand, Meadow. Thank you. I have Saburah Posner. She is the Dean of Student Life for Girls. Thank you, Saburah. And I have Pearcy, who is the Dean of Student Life for Boys. What we were going to do, I wanted to have Meadow quickly start by talking a little bit more about a general overview of the middle school and some of the things that make us a little bit unique in general. And then from there, we're going to address some of the questions that you guys had submitted to us ahead of time. Thank you so much. If you have questions along the way, please feel free to enter them in the Q&A at the bottom, and we will make sure to answer any questions, additional questions that you guys might have. So with that being said, Meadow, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to be here with you. I actually can't see any of you, so I'm missing out on that. I very much wish we were on campus in person. I could make some eye contact, but nonetheless, I am really happy to be here with you this morning. And I hope you're still able to get a good taste of the warmth and academic passion and really strong sense of community that SCH has. So I'm going to highlight a few things for you that are by no means exhaustive about our program. And I'm more than happy to set up time to talk to anyone individually if at any point you'd like. So a couple of things that I just want to touch on that I think make our middle school really special. The first is, really about SCH as a pre-K to 12 experience, which obviously you're not coming for the pre-K to 12 experience, but there's still a unique aspect to our middle and upper school that I'm sure you are aware of, which is that in middle school, we offer a single-sex academic experience. And in upper school, we move to a co-ed experience. With that said, there's really strong aspects of the middle school that are about helping girls find their voice, become empowered, really shed sort of the inhibitions that you might have if you're in the classroom with the opposite sex. Same thing with boys. We really are trying to help boys navigate their identities, have the permission to be relational, sensitive, and interested in the arts, that there's many definitions of what it means to be a boy. There's many definitions of what it means to be a girl. And I think it's really important that in our middle school, one of the things that being single sex enables us to do is help kids, become who they truly are, that is not limited to some sort of stereotype or gender norm. So we're really working with our students all throughout the 4 years to determine their own identity. And as many of you, especially those of you that may have already raised a middle schooler, know, middle school is a big, big time for identity. It looks a little bit like this, right? Like every hour there's sort of a different discovery about yourself. And it's something that we really pride ourselves on helping students with, figuring out what their values are, who the right friends are, how they learn best, how you bounce back from a problem, what you do after you've made a mistake, what are all your passions. So I think that single sex aspect is really important, because the second that our girls and boys step foot in the classroom, they shed those inhibitions, they shed those sort of for the pressures of gender norms. With that said, we also though we're in the same building, and so our students do have opportunities to have interactions with the opposite division, the other division. So some of our recess time is co-ed, some of it is single sex, some of it is co-ed. Our lunch is single sex, but our activities program is co-ed. So they might be in our improvisational theater activity with the opposite sex. They might be in our debate club or our writer's workshop or our science experimentation activity. So there are opportunities to have friends and strong, relationships with both boys and girls, but there's that safety of when you walk into the classroom, you are with a single sex environment. The next thing that I wanted to touch on is our advisory program, which I think is one of the most special parts of our school. Our students and their advisors have incredibly strong relationships. So every student is matched with an advisor that usually is somebody that teaches them that year. It's about between 8 and 12 kids in an advisory in a single grade. And it really is, Saburah often describes it as like your family at school, and kind of also your parent at school too. And it's not just an anchor for our students, but it's also for their families. You are going to have plenty of questions as a new family if you come to SCH, and so that advisor is your lifeline as well. If you're wondering, you know, I'm seeing this at home, are you seeing it at school? Or I would love for my student to try, you know, I really think they would love doing robotics after school. Would you mind talking to them? They don't listen to anything I say because they're in middle school, right? That the advisor is your person to sort of help you along the journey and partner with you. And I think it's a really important relationship. And so the kids meet in the morning from 8 to 8:15. They meet during our extra help block during the day. And then for our youngest kids, we often have a closing circle as well. So it's a strong touch point. It's the person that helps make sure kids are doing their homework, seeing their teachers for extra help, asking good questions, and having a good experience. That partnership is also seen with all of your child's academic teachers. We send regular feedback, academic feedback, and studentship feedback throughout the year. You'll get, you know, individualized emails from each teacher. Teachers are always available if you want to talk or conference about how we can best support your child. And the teachers are in constant communication with one another, with us as a leadership team, and with families, so that we are putting all of the pieces together and making sure that we are pushing and challenging your child appropriately, supporting them appropriately, knowing when something's going on at home and they might need a little bit extra support. And that partnership is just so integral to our community, because we cannot promise that middle school will be, you know, without bumps in the road. It very rarely is anywhere, but we really believe that we will love your kids the most that anybody could and partner with you the best possible all throughout the 4 years. The last thing I want to touch on also speaks to community, and it's our AEIOU program, which is it's our diversity programming in middle school. So while we infuse diversity work into all of our academics, this is actually an explicit curriculum that we teach in our advisory program. And curriculum is a little bit misleading because that sounds more like information being taught. And I think AEIOU is far more about reflection and questioning and discussion and understanding. So it stands for awareness, empathy, inclusion, seeing differences as an opportunity, and understanding. And through these advisory activities and discussions, we talk about a whole lot of identifiers in the world. So we might touch on racial identifiers, religious identifiers, sexual orientation, gender identity, socioeconomic status. Really, we mental health, learning differences. And what we're trying to do is we're not taking a stand on anything that's right or wrong or good or bad. What we are doing is saying we recognize that the families that are coming to our school, including us as faculty, come from all different identities. And we want to seek to understand one another. We want to understand the experiences of other people so that we have empathy. We want to be upstanders when we see injustice going on. And so all of this is to provide our students with that foundation so that regardless of your personal belief, regardless of your family values, we know that every student that comes into our building will be respected, will be valued, will be celebrated, because all of that is essential to good learning happening. If a student doesn't feel valued and celebrated, then they're not going to be able to learn effectively. And so with all of that foundation, then we're able to let our teachers do what they do best: project-based, discussion-based, student-focused work in the classroom. This year with the COVID restrictions, it's the only time in my career here in 12 years that I've seen, you know, all rooms with desks and rows and students far apart. Usually you'll see students, you know, in groups huddled over science experiments or robotics or Legos, or in a little literary circle having a book talk. So, you know, students are at the center of everything we do. Every decision we make stems from what is best for kids. And we are in a partnership with you and on your team to make sure that your children have the most support and growth possible in these really, really exciting years of middle school. So I'm going to turn it over to Allison and Saburah and Jay now, but please don't hesitate at any point to reach out if you have questions. SCH is a really happy place, and I would love to meet some of you in person or via video over the next few weeks. So have a wonderful day, and I turn it over to you guys now.
Thank you, Meadow. I appreciate that. So that was just a quick overview of middle school. What I wanted to do is, and I am seeing questions that are popping in here, so I appreciate that. Thank you. And I will get to those as well. But I want to start with the ones that some people have sent in ahead of time. And we'll just kind of answer them as we go. And if you guys have questions from there, please don't forget to add them at the bottom. What does SCH look for in a student was a question that someone typed in. I'm going to just quickly put my take on it, but then if Jay and Saburah, you want to add anything to it, please go ahead. I think first and foremost, we want to make sure that academically it's a good fit for the child. We would never want to bring somebody in here that we feel would struggle or lose their love for learning or confidence. So when you're going through the admissions process, based on the information we have, we do our best to try and make sure this is academically a good fit for somebody. I don't know, James, if you want to add anything else aside from that. Obviously there's more to it, but anything, you guys take it away too.
I'd say there's nothing like specific. Jay, you feel free to chime in afterwards, but what's great about SCH is that it is a community that's really inclusive, and we value how different everyone is from each other. So, you know, Jay and I have already interviewed probably close to 20 students this year, and every interview is different. Every child is different. So we might have someone who is really interested in our sports program and athletics, and then another student who the other day was asking me about service programs that we provide because she volunteers at a church in her neighborhood. So I'd say that one of the beauties of our community is that we are really inclusive, and there's really a space for everyone, and there's a program or activity for everyone.
What students sometimes ask me this question when we're interviewing them for school, and I tell them that we're looking for students that are going to be successful here. You know, it's always nice to add a student to the community that brings in something different, like Saburah is talking about. All three of us have our children here at school, so I mean, we're pretty invested in the program. But it's nice to have kids that are, that are going to be very, kind of normal for our community as well, and fit in. You don't need to be a concert, pianist to get in the door. That would be really cool if that was the case. But we're really looking for kids that are going to come here and be successful, have smiles on their face, and like coming to school every day. That's really what we're looking for.
And just to add to that too, I think it's also important, there's so much to take advantage of here. We want kids to be involved in many things. So you can be that star athlete, but you can be on the stage and do robotics at the same time too. So we're looking for kids who want to take advantage of all the different opportunities that SCH has to offer, which I think is important and helps make kids successful and happy here as well. Okay, next question. How do we know? It's kind of touched upon this. How do I know if the school is a right fit for my child? And what is parent involvement? I'll just take that one. Ultimately, there's the community and the feel, and I often say it's something you just have to feel. The teachers and the staff really do a good job of making everyone, as Saburah said, feel inclusive and part of it. So it's something where we're always happy to connect you with current parents if you want to get a good feeling for how are current kids doing if you don't know anybody here. But it's something where it's like you walk the halls, you see the kids, and you'll see and feel the energy and the excitement that SCH has to offer. I know it's a little trickier in the COVID times, but we can definitely work around that and figure out different ways to make you get a feel for what SCH is about. From a parent involvement standpoint, I say that you can get involved in as much or as little as a parent as you want. We have a parent association. There's various opportunities for you to help at athletic events or help at different school events. So there's really different ways for you to get involved at SCH. It's a matter of how much time you have and what you're capable of doing. Did you guys want to add anything else to that?
No.
Okay.
One simple question to answer though is once your child is in middle school, you don't have to reapply for upper school.
Correct. Yes. Sorry, I am seeing the ones that people are coming in that are I'm answering.
It was an easy one to answer, so I just.
Yes. Once you are admitted in middle school, someone did actually ask me that question ahead of time too. Once you're admitted in middle school, you don't need to reapply for upper school. You will continue on, which leads me to the next question somebody asked. Jay, I think, do you want to take this one? What processes are in place to bring the boys and the girls together in advance of starting in 9th grade? So basically, how do we transition our kids from middle school to upper school? Jay, if you want to start, and Saburah, if you want to add anything to that.
So as I'm on my 3rd middle school student of my own at SCH, we don't necessarily need to do anything. I mean, depending on the classes, they find each other and they connect and have friendships and interactions with each other in school and outside of school. I mean, a lot of them know each other from outside of school, but we definitely have events that happen that help bring them together. There's more of those the older they get. We have more functions with the 8th graders together than we do the 5th graders together. But they see each other in the halls, a lot of the day. There is some transition time at recess where they interact with each other, and some kids really take advantage of that to be with the other group, and some kids don't notice that the other group is even there, depending on what their interest is in it. Our electives program, which is a pretty cool part of our program, 3 times a year, students get to choose an elective that meets once a cycle, so that they can pursue interests, quasi-academic interests, and those are co-ed, and they're also cross-grade. So it's not just interacting with the girls if you're a 5th grade boy, but if you're a 5th grade boy, you might be or a 6th grade boy, you might be in an elective with 8th grade boys or 7th grade boys or 8th grade girls. It kind of spreads you, just kind of spreads your connections out. We have dances for 7th and 8th graders. We haven't had one in a little while, since last fall, I guess. Saburah and I are the chaperones at it. So you could come, if you're a parent, you can volunteer to come to one of the dances. They're really fun.
And your child will not be thrilled with that, but.
I would say student council has evolved into something that's almost like a coordinate activity. They have their own student councils. There's a girls' student council and there's a boys' student council, but they definitely interact with each other and coordinate activities throughout the school, which is kind of almost like a very formal way that the 2 groups interact with each other. So there's lots of opportunities for the kids to get together and do things. We have assemblies where they're all in the same room, pre-COVID, and drama performances, all sorts of things that go on.
And I was just going to add to that, sorry, Saburah, if I'm cutting you off. There's also after-school activities like drama or robotics, which are co-ed as well. So there are other opportunities for the kids to interact with each other in non-academic settings, where they can get to know one another. If there was anything else you wanted to add.
No, that was it. And I thought also there was an aspect to the question about getting them ready for upper school, but maybe that was a different question.
Well, in advanced 9th grade. No, I think it's also talk about that too, maybe just a little bit about what you guys do from for those that are moving on from 8th to 9th, and what does that look like to help them?
Sure. So typically during a non-pandemic year, we have, it would actually be scheduled for next week. We have what's called a move-up day. So all of our 8th grade students, and this occurs in a co-ed experience, they spend the day shadowing shadowing 9th graders. So student leaders from upper school, they come down, they each run a small group of about 10 students that are girls and boys, and they spend the day in upper school. And it's, as you all know, it's a lot different to just hear about upper school, but to actually go up there, experience it, be in the classrooms, hear from some of the upper school teachers. That's one way that gets them really excited about upper school, so that they can see all that there is that we offer in upper school as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Someone asked the question just now, if someone was behind in the classroom, what would the teachers do to catch them up? Or do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So as Meadow mentioned, your advisor is your main connection between home and school. And I guess we didn't yet cover this, but we also have what are called team meetings, which are once a cycle, where all of the teachers who teach that grade, they meet with a member of the admin team, as well as our middle school psychologist. And it's a way for us to check in on students at that grade level. If there's anyone that needs more support, they would be placed on the agenda for that week, or anyone who might need more challenge. Similarly, if your student or if your child is behind, it depends on the reason. So in the past, for example, we've had a few students who maybe had a concussion, and then right away we go into a concussion protocol where your child's advisor would work closely with our school psychologist, put in assignments that maybe were missed, and then figure out which one took academic priority in terms of making it up. If your child is sick or behind in that way, it's very simple I think it's simple for students to get caught up, because we are such a tight-knit community, and your advisor would work real closely with your child to get them all caught up to speed.
Cool.
It's also very individualized. I mean, a lot of our answers to our questions would be, it depends, because since we're a small community, since we are staffed the way we are, we can be very flexible. And, Saburah brings up like the concussions as an example. There may be some things that don't need to be made up. If you're out for a day, are we going to have the student make up everything? Probably they are going to make up everything. But once you throw in different complicating factors, it's really going to be individualized to address that particular student's needs and our strengths at being able to get the student back on track.
And I think, I don't know if one, Ron, just address, I don't know if this is what the person was referring to, was if you're referring to, were they behind coming in, meaning like maybe academically they were a little behind or weren't up to speed with math perhaps or something. How do we kind of fill those gaps in? Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe, the first month, a lot of times in math or something, it's maybe a little review from the year prior. So
the first month, yeah.
That might also help for those that are coming in new, who feel like maybe they're a little bit behind in a specific subject or didn't know something coming in. That might help to kind of get them ramped up to where we are right now. I'm getting questions regarding class size, how many kids in a grade, those types of things. I just wanted to also answer one quick question that seems easy, quick to answer. Unfortunately, due to COVID this year, we are not able to do student visits. Unfortunately, if something should change along the way or in the spring, we will definitely let you guys know. But for right now, we are not having kids visit. So I'm so sorry for that part of it. But anyway, regarding class size and grade size, every grade's a little bit different, and Jay and Saburah, correct me here if I'm misspeaking, but typically around 5th and 6th grade, you're going to have around 30-35 kids in a grade, I would say. So that would be 30-35 boys and 30-35 girls. Usually in 7th and 8th, you're going to have a grade of around 40-45. It can get higher than that. Every year is a little bit different. So if you use round numbers, there might be 40 boys and 40 girls in 8th grade. And then when you move to 9th grade, you're moving into a grade of 120, 130 in a grade. Class size, 5th and 6th, 7th, it depends. It could be 1 to 12, 1 to 13.
Average, yeah. The average is about 15, no more than 18.
It doesn't get above 18. Thank you.
And depending on the class, I mean, it could be really small too. I mean, it depends on what an 18-person class is going to be like probably like an art class or a Spanish class or something. If you're taking French, it might be significantly smaller than that. The kids, it's 14, 15 kids in general in a classroom. If you're coming from a public school, it's going to seem like it's going to feel very small in the classroom. The grade level is going to be like Allison said, 40, 50 kids in 7th and 8th grade.
But what's great about what we do off the bat is create those advisories. So even though it might be 43 students in 7th grade.
For girls, for example, hold on.
Right, for girls, for example, we would split them up into 4 different advisories where each advisor has about 10 or 11 girls. And what's really nice about that time is because we start off the morning in advisory, it's a time for your advisors to check in. with students, take a look at their planner, take a look at upcoming assignments or assessments, make sure that they're staying on track. So it's another way to kind of hold your child accountable, but also be there as a source of support. And also we use advisory as a really warm, safe environment for students to have discussions as a follow-up from assemblies or AEIOU talks or things. And also just advisory for fun. Like we have advisory lunches, again, during a non-pandemic year where students get to bring in treats that they like and share it with their advisory. And then they just catch up and talk about things unrelated to school. So advisors really become that close at school parent for your child.
Perfect. Thank you. One of the questions that someone had submitted ahead of time, what does middle school learning support look like? I don't know if one of you two want to take that one. Jay, you want to start with that one?
Sure. Again, it's going to be individualized. It depends on what the student needs. I mean, if your student has a plan that we know about in advance, we'll take a look at that and see how we can accommodate it, what we can use, what we may have to modify. There's small group, which works on study skills. We have reading specialists that help out with reading. Probably the most important thing that we have is for every single student is just our extra help session. Every single day, every student, every adult in the middle school is available and free at the same time. And it's just a wonderful opportunity for students to be able to take advantage of either advocating for themselves and going, they didn't understand that last concept in math, or they're struggling with some vocab words. They can go find that teacher and have that time with that teacher. And it may not be voluntary. It may be a teacher saying, you will be coming to extra help this afternoon because I can tell you are not getting that last concept in that we just discussed in math class. Kids love to use it for getting together, studying prior to tests. They love bringing in to have their papers kind of sort of pre-read by their teachers before they turn them in. It's a really good use of time for the students. They love it. They don't like it when we miss it for some reason.
In addition to our reading and English support, we also have a math support program, which has been great as someone who teaches a math class, just adding that extra layer of support. And if your child, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Takaski is our middle school psychologist. So if your child does have a diagnosis or a learning plan, you would connect with Dr. T, and then we would put together an official accommodation plan to help your child.
It's also important that we come back to the weekly meeting for that grade level team. I mean, that is a really powerful tool to be able to use to communicate across, because sometimes you're seeing something and it's happening in one class and it's not that much of a worry or it's something you can figure out. But once you start connecting the dots and seeing what's going on with the student overall, and then from that point forward, everybody's on the same page as far as helping each other out. Everybody knows everyone's name. I mean, it's not unheard of for a math teacher to check in with a student and say, how's English class going? Because they're aware of what's going on across the grade level. It's very, very helpful.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. I'm getting some questions. Two people are asking me about kids who are coming from a co-ed environment into a single-sex environment. Have you noticed any transition?
That has never been an issue with new students. In fact, so one of the things that Jay and I host during the first month of school is lunches for our new students where we do a check-in. And I remember a few of the girls who came from a co-ed environment, they were actually saying how much they love the single-sex experience, how it's been really nice for them. Whereas I would say the majority of the students don't ever even bring it up, which makes me think that it's not really something they think about.
I was going to say, Saburah and I have both been doing this for 10 years. I couldn't even tell whether we get the majority of our students from single gender or from co-ed. It's not really much of an issue when they come.
And you can attach to that question. You can enter at any grade level. It doesn't have to be 5th grade.
Thank you, Saburah. Fifth grade, middle school starts here in 5th grade, but we have plenty of kids, I assure you, that come in 6th, 7th, and 8th, actually. Sometimes even more on the later end than even in the beginning. So every year is different, but on average, we bring in quite a number of kids, so I assure you your child wouldn't be the only one in that specific grade. I'm getting questions about the admissions process, which I'm going to answer, and I will answer that at the end, I assure you. I just want to get to any of the other questions that families had typed in initially. There's questions about diversity and what is our percentages and what does that look like? I know Meadow kind of talked a little bit about some of our diversity curriculum and things that we're doing here from a diverse standpoint. I'm just going to give you some quick percentages, and then Saburah, Jay, if you want to add anything else. As a school, we're around 35% diversity. For faculty and staff, we're around 20%. So that's just to kind of give you a broad basis. But anything else that you two wanted to add, maybe to just the school? Diversity is one of our core values, so we do take it very seriously here. But Jay, Saburah, if you wanted to add anything else.
Yeah, I mean, and we recognize that percentage is low, and it's something that our school is certainly working on. And I'd actually be curious to see within this last year, like this past June, I would think that our new hires, the percentage is a lot higher than 20. But again, it's something that we're aware of as we're trying to, again, create more mirrors for our students of color and also provide windows for our white students to learn from people who are different from them.
Perfect. Just so to answer all of the admissions process questions, I know some of you guys typed things in. There was one that somebody asked me about offering mid-year enrollment. We do have kids that do come in mid-year. This year is a little bit trickier, I will say, just due to COVID and restrictions and making sure we have enough space in classrooms. So it's a very individual basis if you're asking me for this specific year. Year to year, we usually have 1 or 2 kids that do come in mid-year, but for this year specifically, it's going to be a little bit trickier from a number standpoint with spacing. So I just wanted to quickly address that. But I'm happy to speak with somebody offline if you want to at least know if there's room in a grade at this moment in time. Regarding the admissions process, ultimately, first step in the process is you would go online, you would complete our online application. From there, I would reach out to you. I would be the person that you would be working with directly to help you through the process. And I would work through all the different items that are needed. So transcripts, teacher recommendations. We do have a standardized test, the ISEE, or the SSAT, which is a standardized test that covers topics in reading, writing, and math. So that is part of the process. We do have virtual interviews at this moment in time. So you would do a parent interview with myself virtually, and you would do your child would do a virtual interview with either Jay or Saburah, depending whether they're a middle school boy or a middle school girl. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, there are no visits at this moment in time, but should that change due to COVID restrictions, we will let you know.
Allison, there is a way to do tours, right?
Yes, so I am doing tours after school on specific days. The building is empty due to COVID, but if you haven't had a chance to lay eyes on the campus or want to walk around, once you apply, we can schedule that up. So you do need to apply first for a tour to even be possible at this time. The other thing I wanted to address, I have a lot of questions that people ask me about cost and tuition and financial aid, things like that. It's kind of a two-pronged process. So your child would first need to be fully admitted before the financial aid committee would then review your application. So I always tell families, if that is a strong need of yours, if that's something that you're looking for, start the process sooner than later. We start reviewing applicants and distributing aid in early December. So I would say if that's something that you want to at least see, is my child admissible? Is this financially doable? Start the process sooner than later. It is different than the admissions process. I am not involved in that. It is something where I will help you through the admissions process, and hopefully if your child is accepted, great. It then is passed off to the financial aid committee. There is a whole application that you would need to complete for that through a whole third-party system where you put all of your information in there, and that's what the committee uses to review what your financial aid would be should you qualify. But hopefully that gives you a little bit more clarity on the two-prong process. Does anyone have any more questions? Feel free to type them into the Q&A. Hopefully, I think I've addressed any additional questions that people had. I do want to be cognizant of time, as I know We are running a little bit over, but once again, I'm going to send you a follow-up email with my contact information. So please, if you think of anything along the way, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm also happy to connect you with Jay and Saburah if you guys do have anything else that is specific for middle school boys or middle school girls, excuse me. But I do appreciate you guys spending your time with us this morning, and hopefully we were able to answer all of your questions. I'm not seeing any other new ones pop up right now, so please enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you, Jay and Saburah, for being with us this morning.
Thank you all for joining.
Bye.